Hey everyone, what we're going to do today is work with a new material. This is an old jig, but we're going to make it new again. I call it the PG minnow because the material we're going to use is called polar goat. Um, Really nice fluid movement. I played around with it for a little bit to see what I can use it for, and this is going to be a type of jig that works really well with this material. In the vise, we have a 1/4 ounce minnow head with a 2-aught VMC 9147 hook. The color is what I call faded shad. And I know with the light you can't really see it, but it's basically a mottled gray with the pearl bottom. And just so you know, if anybody leaves a comment or a question and it gets removed, it's not me doing it. It's YouTube. For some reason, I'm getting comments removed. So I don't know how they're going to rectify that, but just know that it isn't me that's taking them off of there. So without further ado, we're going to get started here with some white 210 denier flat wax nylon thread. And we're going to get our base started. And you'll see I cut a notch in the collar. That's to keep our thread locked in. When you're using a material like this, it has a tendency to want to slip. So all you do is take a little diagonal cutter and just spin it around until you get a little notch, and that'll keep your material locked in. So we got our base. We're going to start with our polar goat, and I'm using two colors. This is fluorescent white, and the other color we're going to use is gray. And you see how long this material is. It comes on a little piece of tanned hide. Um, Obviously, you don't need the entire length. But what I do from playing with this stuff, working with it for a few days, I take my scissors and I'll separate a bunch of it, just like craft fur. Um, I'll get a bunch together. You get some fuzzies in here. There's some under fur. And what I'll do is I'll cut it off right at the hide. Need two hands to sort of hold it. I'll do a rough cut here. But what you do, you see there's short pieces, there's really long ones, and as you get further down the length, it thins out. So what I like to do is I like to take this stuff here, it's called stacking, and we're going to take the really long pieces out, and we're going to line them up with some shorter pieces. And we're going to do the same thing, because there is some, depending on the color, I noticed with other colors that I'm getting in this, the lengths vary on this material. Some of it's really long, some of it isn't really that long at all. So I'm going to stack it until I get the length I really need and the bulk that I want. Because as you go further down, you're getting more and more fibers. There's a lot more shorter fibers than there is long. So I'm just going to stack it until we get the fibers pretty even. I can get what I need out of it. Also, don't throw your waste away. What I noticed with this is the ends are blunt. So if you cut it, you can actually take your fingers and hand taper it and use the stuff that you cut off again. So make sure you keep a bin if you use this material so you can have some extra. So after I get it one more time, well, maybe two more times, I'm trying to rush this, so making a little bit of a mess of it. But it really isn't that bad to work with. I'm just making it look a lot harder than what it is. And that's because I'm trying to hurry up and do it on camera. Now, we're stacked. Got a pretty decent base of a material here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up that, oh, we may be an inch and a half out the back. And this material is kind of coarse. It doesn't feel like it is, but it's a lot coarser than what it looks like when you feel it in your hand. And that, again, I should emphasize, it's the color. The white seems to be a little coarse. The gray and olive that I have doesn't seem to be that way. So I'm going to take this and we're just going to loosely tie it in. Work it around a little bit. Tighten it. And now I can turn it up, and I already have some cut and stacked that I did earlier, because if I did it all, it would take me forever. And line it up with what we have in, and cut it. Yeah, when this is going to be put in the test tank too. I already checked it out. It's really nice in the water. Really is. I'm liking this stuff. I'm going to play around with it and see what we can come up with. And that's another thing. When I come up with patterns, and I'm using new material for the first time, what I do is I look at the material and I kind of make a determination, if it's going to be for something moving, something on the bottom, and then I will make a variant of something I already tie up. That way, it's something I know that it's a proven jig, and it's the type of jig that I think will work with the material. And once I get an idea of how that material is in the water and how it works tying and how it works on the jig itself, that's when once I get a handle on that, that's when I'll start playing around and experimenting with different types of heads and things of that nature. But when we first get it, we do something that we're familiar with, so it gives us an idea of what to expect out of the material. So now we got our fluorescent white polar goat hair tied in, and the next thing I'm going to do is take some grizzly saddle hackle, and I'm going to tie that in, one on each side. But I'm not going to be directly on the side. I'm going to be sort of, you want the cup facing towards the jig, almost on the top, but not quite. That's where I'm going to tie that side in. Same thing over here. It's pretty good. Tighten it down. Now, we're going to take our gray polar goat. And this is the one thing odd I found with this material, is this is gray, and it doesn't feel, it feels a little slicker than the white did. I don't know why. Maybe it could be the dye, which is what I'm guessing, but it doesn't have the same thing. Even olive is a little bit different, has a little different texture, so it's probably in the dye. We're going to line that up. And the other thing I forgot to mention with this material, what's different than the regular like Arctic goat, is this has like a sheen to it. It's almost like a glow, like a pearlescence, if you will. Um, it's just different. So far, I'm really digging it. I could think of some things I want to try to do with it, but for now, since it's a new material, we're just going to play with what we already know. And this is just a normal craft fur minnow, but we call it the PG minnow now for polar goat. And if another question that I got, which pertains to this, is somebody asked me a little while ago about why I have all these names for jigs. And this will answer another question, is how I keep track of all of them. And the name is how I keep track. By naming them, I can remember it. As stupid as it sounds, it makes it easier for me to remember and keep track of what I do. You know, jig number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that doesn't cut it. But, you know, polar goat, yeah, I know what it is. So now we have just about everything in place. We have our polar goat tied in. We have our saddle hackle tied in. Now, the coup de grace. This is Pearl Polar Flash. Another variant. The original craft fur minnow, I used Crystal Flash. On this one, we're going to take 5 strands and we're going to put it in. It's just about even, maybe a little further than our polar goat. And I tie 5 in. And I'm going to fold it over. And it's going to give us 10. And the same thing on the other side. Five in, fold it over, and we got 10. Now all I got to do is tighten the collar up. Whip finish it. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. Cinch it. Trim. We'll do a little bit of head cement here, some Loom water-based head cement. I'm not afraid to apply this pretty liberally. Like I said, I don't have to worry about it getting on the material, so of course I don't purposely put it on, but and I'll show you what we have. Get our hemostats here. And there you have the PG minnow. And you see, by tying the hackle on the top like that, it sort of splays them out. It's not perfectly sitting back like a deceiver would be, or that type of a tie. It's almost like a really small, finessey preacher style jig. I use this 8 to 10 pound line. Really good after a cold front. That 55 to 60 degree water temperature. If they're not chasing a sluggo, this thing works really well. And the way I fish it, slow, steady retrieve, and every now and then just give the rod a short little pop. Because what they'll do is they'll track this. They'll be coming behind it and they track it, and that little bit of a pop or just kill it, that often is when I get the strikes. In fact, to be honest with you, that's when I get most strikes. And that's with craft fur. Now, we'll see how it is with this polar goat, but I could tell you in the water, you're going to like this in the tank. So there you have it. Our PG minnow in a faded shad. Give it a shot. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.